Welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm excited. Winter, it's like January 45th right now, but I'm ready for to get into February and get some nicer weather. This last couple of days was a nice little break. So.
But now it's cold and windy again.
I know, and that wasn't a great walk, but that's fine.
But we're going to call it January 28th instead of the 44th.
Ooh, the 45th, all right.
So
all right.
I think that is a good place to start. We've had a little bit of a break, and for that, we had a lot going on with the holidays with our families, trying to be present. So we apologize for that big break, but we're going to be a little bit more consistent. And
we have a couple of good guests lined up too.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah.
And we're going to schedule some community classes. So if you are people that are interested in doing the peer-to-peer discussions, we are going to start scheduling at least one Sunday a month to do our classes and have discussion. We got a topic today that is about helping family members that have mental health issues, substance abuse disorders, and how to kind of navigate that as a family member without getting completely burnt out and losing yourself along the way. So let's talk about ourselves for a minute and just catch up a little bit.
Real quick, ServPro of Indiana is offering businesses now what we're calling a mitigation service agreement. Over the Christmas and New Year's last year, we had about 300 phone calls and we couldn't get to everybody. So some of our places like hospitals, schools, and businesses, if you happen to sign up for this service agreement, then that means you get to skip everybody and go to the front of the line if you're like an essential business that needs to get back open. And how much do you think that costs?
$0.
Well, you're right. It's actually $0. So if you are a business owner and that's something that's interesting to you, just reach out to me and we'll see if you qualify for it.
And Green Fire CrossFit, we're offering, if you sign up in the month of January, we'll give you 30 free days.
Nice.
To try, make sure you like it. We don't do contracts here, so it's kind of, if you decide after signing up for a month that you don't like the program or you don't want to be here, it doesn't fit your schedule, you can still get out. There's no crazy contracts or gimmicks or anything like that.
Right.
So it's always, we want people here that want to be here, and we want you to be here and a part of the community. So we're giving a free month just before you have any financial obligations. You can check it out and see if you like it. Mm-hmm. And my coffee here is brought today by Sit and Stay Cafe.
Nice. Okay.
The little coffee shop. They have stuff in there for the Humane Society with little pictures of dogs, and I cry every single time that I stare at that tree and look at dogs.
It is a nice place.
But you know that they do support the different organizations in our community that help animals. So
yeah, my dog is too addicted to food, and she just pulls on the leash every time, so I can't sit there because she just wants to go in the door and lick everyone's face and everyone's food. So
okay, so what did you experience the past couple months? Anything?
Past couple months, I didn't work out for like a month, and that was once I started again last week, and I feel so much better. So I even told you, I was like, I feel like I need kick-started or jump-started. And then after I worked out for a day, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. That's why we preach this.
That's what it feels like, yeah.
But Favor and Bolivar opened up a new building, and they are. They bought an old church and finally opened up a community center where we're going to be able to teach our classes down there and have a little bit better, like a little more privacy, a little better place to do that. And what did you think about our presentation last week with Adagio?
I thought it was great. We did a presentation together for Adagio Health. I talked about getting people moving, no matter what demographics, no matter what income level they have, meeting people where they're at.
Yeah.
And Justin talked about the mental health aspect of how we do that through Gym Therapy Inc. So we are probably going to be doing some work with a nonprofit that we're really, really excited about. And we'll drop more information about that when it comes out. So we're really, really looking forward to that and just helping more people and reaching more people, because what we do is about impact, and it's about reaching as many people as possible, no matter where they're at in life.
And this company is based out of Allegheny County, but they also cover 15 different counties in Western Pennsylvania. So we're really expanding our horizon. Oh, I wanted to say too, our podcast reached 23 countries last year.
That's so cool.
Yeah, right?
Look at us.
Not bad. I was excited to hear that. Sometimes we'll record these and I'm like, why don't we have 10 million viewers yet? But then whatever, we found out we reached 23 countries. I thought that was pretty big.
That's great. So this topic was brought to us by a listener, and they wanted to just kind of ask us to navigate some things. So I found some information on addictioneducationsociety.org, sprinkling in a little bit of my own experience with what I go through, inside of my family, and I'm excited to talk about it. So, helping families with mental health issues and substance abuse disorders. So, what can you do to navigate? This is such a sensitive issue, and there are so many different tactics out there. Some are helpful and some are very hurtful. And you hear the things about like tough love and shutting people off, and that doesn't always work.
No.
And sometimes it actually does a lot of harm.
Yeah.
So here are some things that we found. First off is search online for the information about the addiction or the health diagnosis. Try to understand it to the best of your ability level. Talk to the doctors or professionals if you're able to. And it's depending on if you have access to, your family members, doctors. It depends. But if not, reach out to different people and talk about the addiction or the disorder. Learning about the diagnosis or the addiction can help you understand what to expect and the situations that are probably going to arise as you're going through it.
Speak to people that have gone through this stuff before too, because to get firsthand knowledge. You can't be overeducated in this stuff.
No.
Yeah.
And seek professional assistance for like detox clinics, local health centers, and inpatient care centers. And there are local organizations that have daily meetings to promote like drug-free living and support networks of those recovering from addiction. And that immediately made me think of the Recovery Center here in Indiana. Nikki Winnett runs that, and she has a fantastic organization there, and she is just crushing it in her recovery and crushing it with helping other people stay in the bounds of their recovery. And I can't say better.
No, and she's getting in the fitness game a little bit too.
Yes,
I'm happy
she
for
is.
her. Yeah, excited for her.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say she's always posting the dinners she makes too. So
I know they always look great. Nikki, invite us over. Look for organizations that specialize in recovery or support. Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, is Narcotics Anonymous. There are 12-step groups. They're typically all free, correct?
They're 100% free, yeah.
And this is stuff that we discuss. If you come to us and say, hey, your community classes is something we could talk about, we would absolutely talk about this in peer-to-peer discussions. If you go to counseling, a lot of times your counselor or your therapist has resources for these kind of groups too, outside of the therapy that they provide for you. Offer emotional support to your other family members or to the family member that's struggling, because you're all in this together. It affects everybody. And I think that the person that's struggling with the mental health issue or the addiction, a lot of times they feel alone, and they feel that people don't care, but the people in your family and in your life that love you are also struggling through it. They're up late worrying about where you're at and if you're okay and if you're safe. When the phone rings in the middle of the night, their heart stops beating for a second.
There's never a good phone call past midnight.
No. And there are times that my parents have called me or text me late at night, and immediately my heart stops, because that's what you think about. So these organizations are out there that are free resources, and they're incredible, and they're often ran by people who lived through the experience. Professional therapy or counseling for family members. Addiction and severe mental health issues can cause extreme stress, insomnia, and emotional pain. And sometimes you take a lot of the guilt and the blame for yourself. The best way to address these issues is by seeking professional help. There's family therapy. In-school counseling for children is a really great resource. And in the past, year that we went to like Purchase Line, to our alumni, we went there and we talked to teachers. A lot of them are really getting educated on helping kids with their mental health. And a lot of kids are seeing counselors now where it's not, like when we were in school, people made fun of you if you had to go to the counselor's office. It was terrible. And now it looks like it's an amazing resource for the kids. And it's also at the school is free. So if it's something, therapy, we know it's not cheap. But if you have kids that are struggling because their parents or family members are suffering with mental health issues or addiction issues, it's a great resource to help the kids.
I feel like if you did anything to improve yourself in our day and age, you got made fun of. Like if you got your hair cut, it's like, whatever, nerd.
A lot of it. I mean, and there are
Less
things
busting
that
balls too,
still happen,
Yeah.
but I think that people are growing and they're learning to treat each other better. So when you're dealing with the family member, is the best thing that you can do for them is to be encouraging. Encourage treatment. Don't ignore the problem. Don't brush it under the rug. There are families that brush things under the rug for decades.
Yeah, because you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of the girls at the garden club, you know?
I don't know what you mean by that reference at all.
I was just saying, you'd rather sweep something under the rug than bring light to it because you don't want to embarrass yourself in the community.
I think a lot of times people, they don't talk to the person that's struggling with the mental health issues or the addiction issues because they don't want conflict.
They don't want conflict, and people don't. If you bring these situations to light, then you have to admit they're a problem, and you don't want to seem like a bad parent or a bad sibling or a bad something, so you don't want other people to know like your kids are going through this or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's best to talk about it because there's not a single person that isn't affected by this stuff. And everybody goes through it, and the more light you can bring to it, the more of a communal effort you can put towards getting somebody healthy. I know whenever we started to help out Alyssa, our other person here, she 15-year heroin addict, but I put my side of the family, Alyssa's side of the family, and another group of just like friends and family, all in different messages, so we were all on the same all on the same page at all times, and people then had the option to like leave and decide not to stick around and help out. But it just seemed like I wanted everybody in her life to know what was going on with her at all times, so that way they could help, just kind of like step in and help whenever the time came,
and also see that she was trying.
And she was trying and succeeding.
Because, and like she said, she burnt bridges with her family for a while.
Oh yeah, I don't blame anybody, yeah.
And now I think that was a great idea because it gave people the understanding that she was trying to make changes in her life, and look at her now. Incredible.
Yep.
And ask and encourage the family member that is struggling to attend therapy sessions with you, because a lot of times they don't realize that you're affected as deeply as you are.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this is my life, this is what I'm doing with my life, but it does affect the people that love you. And ask them to attend different support groups. Support groups, I think, are so life-changing.
Yes.
And I've heard so many people share stories about going into support groups and how it saved them, helped them get through another day.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it's just day to day. And that's not just for addiction, that's mental health as well.
Yeah.
I remember just when I had mental health struggles back in like 2020, 21, and, driving by this telephone pole that like often gave me some intrusive thoughts. We had talked about this in an episode, and how close I was to just, pulling the wheel and driving by it probably a couple months ago and saying like, I can't believe that I was that low.
Yeah.
And in that time, I could not see the light. And had I let that thought win, I could have missed out on so much on the other side.
You wouldn't even be able to hang out with me doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it. You would just miss out on so many great moments in your life. And sometimes just, it's day to day. And I remember there were times where I was just like, just get through the day. You can do this. Just get through the day. So offer support, but don't enable.
Yes, which is very, very tough to do because, especially when it comes with the addicts, monetarily, it seems like they have a way of getting things out of you, and we don't ever give an addict money. I think we've learned that. Don't ever give an addict money. If you have to buy them lunch or something like that, that's fine, but don't give them anything that they can trade for drugs.
Correct.
Because they are. They're manipulators in a lot of ways, and it's not their fault. Like they're addicts, but they are manipulators in a lot of ways. So monetary donations are not great.
And this
to do
goes
that.
for people with mental health struggles.
Yeah.
That, if they are acting out and they're spending every dime they have to the point that they're not able to buy necessities, and they're just asking for more money, you don't know what they're going to do with that money.
Correct.
So if they need food, whatever, and you have the resources to help them,
Yeah.
you can. But also understand that you can only give to your limit of giving.
Yeah.
So if that means that you are giving more than what you are bringing in, that's not sustainable for you to live a good quality of life either.
Correct.
So there are organizations out there that you can refer them to. We have ICAP in this area.
Yeah.
We have different resources for helping people with mental health. Mental health we're still fighting to get resources for people that are struggling with mental health. So there are different financial resources out there to help people that are struggling with that. And there are different places, if you look into the transportation, like giving people rides to meetings, to appointments, there are buses in this area. There are pretty cheap rides, depending on if they have a diagnosis, like a health ride kind of thing, that also goes through the transportation here in Indiana.
Okay.
So we did some research on those. They're like vans that'll pick people up and take them. I don't know if that goes as far as mental health diagnosis, but there are resources out there. And there are, Ubers in Indiana now. There are Lyfts. So if you can't take them and maybe you can spare a couple bucks and send them in a car, like that's also helping too.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to take off work. You have to drop everything you're doing and completely alter your life and schedule if you don't have the means to do it. If it affects your job, your livelihood, and your way to take care of your family, that's not helping you either. So you can only give to your own means. And that's a hard one.
Yeah, I spoke to a grant writer just this week, and we were talking. He's like, "I can get you money for your organization, easy." And after we talked about it, we already have a building. We already have people that are willing to teach classes. We already have volunteers. And he's like, "I can't get you money for anything else. That's all. That's it."
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, "Cool, man." I was excited. I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You can get money for buildings. You can get money for transportation, and but you can't get money to have anybody actually teach these classes and donate their time."
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I think, with mental health, like the struggle here is we don't pay enough to help people in the mental health field. Even, I don't know, I can't personally speak for the addiction recovery. I don't know what people are paid in that, but it's probably not enough.
No.
If I had to guess, it's not enough.
It wasn't enough 5 years ago, and now you guys have seen how inflation and everything's kind of killed us this last 4 or 5 years. It's definitely not enough money now, and and for the people that actually do this as a profession, thank you so much for doing it, because it's not easy. Retail, mental health, retail and the health industry have like the 2 highest rates of suicide in the world, and that seems to be the most common jobs that a lot of people have in this area. So commend you guys for doing that stuff. That's all.
Absolutely. So the next one I think is essential for everything in your life, and that's developing effective communication skills. And I think Brene Brown says it best: clear is kind.
Yeah.
Being clear in what you are feeling. You can deliver your message clear without harm and without being mean. So finding a way to communicate your feelings in a clear way that is also kind, I think is super important. Self-help books are a great way to learn communication skills. There are so many. We talked about Brene Brown. She has so many great books on how to communicate with people, about learning your own feelings and what you're feeling. Having family members that are struggling with mental health issues and addiction, sometimes the only thing that you can do is be numb or be angry. So a lot of times I didn't know what I was feeling.
Yeah.
And I remember reading Brene Brown's one book. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but it was all about identifying your feelings and being like, oh.
Yeah, because
so these are feelings.
Yeah.
This is what I'm actually feeling. And just learning those things so you're able to share. because you have to know your feelings and what they are to actually be able to share them. Going to therapy and reenacting scenarios on how to respond to your family member. So, if you know that you say, hey, you not taking your medicine every day is really affecting our household and the calmness in our household, and your anger outbursts are scaring the kids. And having your therapist play your family member, or reverse, what are they gonna say? How are you gonna handle this situation? Having like a kind of a role play, because a lot of times when you're hit off guard of someone screaming at you, I would immediately just like freeze and either walk away and then ruminate on it for about 10 to 12, 14 hours later about what I should have said, then being able to effectively communicate back and say, this is not an attack.
Yeah.
We're all scared, or this is what we're feeling, and have that conversation. So kind of having someone to role play it with you, therapist probably the best person to do this. They're
trained, they've seen all the answers, they've seen all the conversations, so they can give you a perspective that you wouldn't normally have.
But again, also, we understand not everyone has access to therapy. We understand that. If you have a trusted person and someone you look up to and respect for the way that they handle relationships in their lives, maybe talk to them about it and say, how do I approach this? Can we kind of reenact this? What do you think is going to be the best way to handle this? That it's safe, it's effective, and it's clear.
Yeah.
Next one is learn the importance of responding versus reacting.
This was like our first 8 months of teaching these classes. This came up every single class, respond versus react.
This is probably my favorite topic.
Yeah.
Boundaries and responding versus reacting. Being reactive can cause so much turmoil in your life, and it can cause so much damage to people. When you just respond quickly because someone says something and it triggers you, you can hurt so many people. And sometimes you don't even mean it, like you're just frustrated and you say something, it can cause a lot of damage to people. So just pausing with it and saying in your head, ask yourself, did they mean this to be hurtful? How can I respond? How can I not take this personally? And a lot of times, the very last one I said is don't take attacks personally when, people that are struggling with addiction or mental health issues don't get what they want.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they will say very harmful and hurtful things, and learning to not take it personal. And another one is try to remain uncharged emotionally, not let them fire you up that you fire back, and it just does more damage to the relationship.
Yeah, and the personal attacks too, they do happen whenever people are struggling, because they're just trying to get a reaction out of you and take the focus off of themselves.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I remember just, going through losing my best friend, going through a divorce, the pandemic hitting in 2020 was just in the gym shutting down and just being isolated from everyone. I just remember sitting in the house I was renting at the time and just being like, how did I get here? How did I get here? And anyone that reached out to me, there are days that I would look at the messages and just put the phone down.
Yeah.
And not want to respond. Or if I did, it'd be like, sarcastic messages back, like, oh, you don't even care. And that's not me.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how I was, but I was just in that low positioning. And, thankfully a lot of people stayed consistent and stayed calm and like, hey, she's going through some things. Let's remain uncharged, because it probably wasn't easy. I was probably a difficult person to deal with.
Would you like to apologize?
Yeah, I would. I was difficult through, probably up until 2021. And in 2022, when I started really, really, really focusing on mental health and self-development and mental health books, and what we were doing here in 2021 was probably the best thing I ever did with my life.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me, because I started to learn all this stuff, but until you put it into motion and actually doing it, that's when the growth actually starts to happen. Like, you can read all the books you want, but until you act on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just the gym therapy and Rooster's Nest and Green Fire, CrossFit, and the communal activities, and doing it with a group of people that are like-minded, moving in the same direction as you, that's when you can really start to make some progress.
And just thinking from where I was at to now, like people are asking me for like mental health advice.
Yeah.
People are coming to me and saying, hey, can you bring up a topic? Can we talk about this?
Yeah.
That just seeing the development that happens when you put in the work, and it is uncomfortable work. It takes time.
Well,
and it is uncomfortable.
We gave that presentation to Adagio last week, and Tristan and I looked at each other when it was over. It was over Zoom, and we're like, man, we bombed that. That was bad. You know, we thought, like, I felt like I talked in circles, and like you wrote down a bunch of stuff and read like half of it. And then I got a follow-up email, 2 actually follow-up emails from people, and they were like, you guys killed it. That was awesome. And you kind of forget how much headway and how much you're actually doing, because we talk about this stuff every day. Sometimes we forget that people don't know what we know, and we're actually becoming kind of experts in this area. So
and it's really weird to say. I actually said it on that call. I said I'm an expert in my field, and I spoke it, and I was like, that felt true.
Yeah,
I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, I'm an expert in what I do. And it feels uncomfortable saying that because it's uncomfortable talking about yourself. But when you start to build confidence and you do this long enough, you've earned the title.
Yeah.
Anyone else that's been in a field for 10 years, I'd be like, oh, they're an expert. They've been doing this for a long time. Why can't you feel this for yourself? So taking personal responsibility for your own, communication skills and your own way to kind of handle situations as they come will help you with your family members or loved ones that are struggling. And also the last one, just as my other favorite topic, is learning your limits and developing boundaries. We cannot save everyone. We just can't. We can do our best to reach them. We can do our best to help them. We can give our all, but sometimes people don't want to receive the help. We also have to know our limits. Yeah. And, when there is violence and physical abuse, you have to step away for your own safety. If they're endangering other people, stealing, things like that, you have to know that your own limitations and you have to set them. So a lot of times in therapy, they have you write boundaries. What are your boundaries? You won't accept to have someone physically harm you. Yeah. You wouldn't accept someone stealing from you. You wouldn't accept this. And you communicate those boundaries to the people in your life. And if they do it, then you have to follow through with the consequence of the boundary. And one thing I have to say about boundaries, I think needs to make it really clear. Boundaries are not about controlling other people. Boundaries are what you accept in your own life. So, I can't say to Justin something about controlling his movements in his life. But if he's doing things that don't reflect with my core values, I can say, hey, what you do in your life doesn't align with mine, and I'm just not interested in having a relationship anymore. Right. And that's okay. I'm not telling him you need to stop doing this to be in my life. I'm just making that clear boundary of, if you continue to do this, like this, our relationship isn't going to be, and you can keep doing whatever you want to do in your life. Because I think a lot of times, that gets confused, or people were like, this is my boundary. You can't post your pictures on social media. That's you can't do that. Sure. You can't control other people. That's not what boundaries are about. So just learning your limits and understanding that, you can't save everyone, especially at the expense of yourself. I think that it's really easy to lose yourself when you're trying to help people that you love. It's so easy and it's draining. So what can you do to kind of combat a lot of those things? Schedule time for yourself. If you are dealing, with this in your family, and you are helping other people, you're driving them places, you're taking them appointments, make sure you have at least an hour of your day scheduled for yourself. Schedule it if it's self-care, if it's exercise, whatever it is. And also have limitations. If you go to bed at 9 o'clock and people are calling you at 2 in the morning, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, or whatever you need to do, especially if it's non-emergency. Yeah. If there's a habit of people calling you in the middle of the night, just interrupting your peace in your life, you also have to have that boundary for yourself. And they're uncomfortable, they're hard to do, but we can't help other people if we're running on empty either.
No, sleep's like the most important thing in my life. So like about 10 o'clock, unless it's an emergency, don't call me after 10 o'clock at night. Yeah.
My phone is on Do Not Disturb at 8:15.
Yeah.
And we're typically sleeping by 8:30, and we get up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So people calling and texting late, unless it's a few people that are on my list to come through the Do Not Disturb, I'll get it in the morning.
Yeah.
And
You can set a list for certain people. Who can
Yeah,
get
so
through?
like my parents were on there.
That makes sense.
And my grandparents were alive, they were on there. So if anyone needed me during those times, I'd get it in the morning, or
Yeah.
my parents would get through. So
Okay.
and they know that, so they don't call me late. I hope that these things help people that are struggling, just being in that caregiver role, because it's hard, it's tough, and there are so many different ways to handle the situation. You can look through 10 different websites and you'll get 10 different answers of what to do. And being clear, being kind, being effective with your communication, and just knowing your limitations are the best things that you can do to help yourself and to help your loved one.
Yeah, and no action is an action. So if you don't do anything, the best way to do it is just do something, I think. Yeah, just try to help out. Start with a conversation with the person if you have to, but I really go into it with some research on your side and some things you can like load your lip with to say whenever you get some rebuttals and things from people. But just doing something is better than doing nothing. That's all.
And also let go of the guilt of saying
Yeah.
no. There are times that you're going to have to say no. If you have plans and you have stuff that you're looking forward to, you don't have to just drop your own life at the drop of the hat to help other people. Like you have to do things for yourself and for your own families, and you have to keep that going. So dropping guilt, dropping shame of saying no, super important in developing boundaries.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that you can work on with a professional. Books on boundaries, I believe, with Brene Brown as well. She's great. There are so many great resources for self-help books. I don't even know how many books I listened to this year. Like in my commuting, that's something that I enjoy, and I just enjoy learning more and more about mental health and the best way that we can help people. And as a coach, I can help my athletes and people coming to me with mental health struggles or with just mental blocks, things holding them back. And for a lot of people, having boundaries and having the guilt even of taking an hour of their day and coming to the gym.
Yeah.
We can't help other people if we're not helping ourselves. Part of coming to the gym every day is getting yourself physically healthy and, helping your own longevity. So that's just part of the process. So I think that it's really important to remember you got to limit the guilt of saying no and taking the time for yourself. It's not being selfish.
Yeah.
It's serving yourself as well.
And 1 hour at the gym gives you 2 days of being in a good mood too, which is fantastic. Imagine if you could show up as your best self for somebody for 2 days in a row just because you took an hour of your own time. It's not. Don't feel guilty about doing that stuff.
And I think with CrossFit too, we do hard shit.
It's very hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, but how cool is it? After being here for a couple months and you pick up a weight that you did not think you would ever be able to pick up. You're watching other people doing it. You're like, oh, I'm never going to get there. And then the day you do it, you're like, I'm here, and it's such that feeling. And you're doing hard things with people every day. So when these things come up to you in life and it's like life kicks you in the teeth, you're like, hey, I do tough shit every single day. I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
I'm resilient. I've proved it. I can get through things. And you kind of just pick it up and go. So I think, building that muscle in the gym, you're also building it mentally and helping you prepare for situations in life and work and relationships, whatever it is. So I think it's super important. You have to take care of yourself. You cannot help other people if you're not helping yourself first.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
That was a quick one for you this week. We got a couple good guests coming up over the next couple weeks. I'm excited. We just decided this morning we'd get on here and just yap at you for a minute just to get back in the groove of things. So we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and next week we have JP John Perry. He is one of our CrossFit Games athletes. He is one of our oldest athletes and wisest. 68 years old and still kicking ass in life. And he's been through a lot on his journey, and we are super excited to talk to him. He's one of my favorite humans, and you'll probably hear and see me crying when I do this interview with him. It's gonna be incredible.
Well, I don't know him that well, so to be determined. All right.
If you're gonna cry, you're gonna cry. Get ready.
Reservations. All right.
All right, guys. Free month of January. If you're local for CrossFit, come in, see us. Move your body. Get out there. Take care of yourself. It's January. Move your body.
Yeah. All right. That's it. Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.